Hello guys, welcome to Mattsbeamer. Today, thanks to my friends Slav and Gez, I have another one of their cars to film. A 2001 Dodge Grand Caravan Sport all-wheel drive. This one here has the 3.8 unit. Two of their cars have already been featured on my channel. A Mark III Ford Escort and a Vaz 210-61, aka the Lada 1500S. I will leave the links to their Instagrams down below and also the previous videos of their cars. So this Dodge Grand Caravan is the 4th generation, the codename RS. Grand Caravan is the name given to the long wheelbase versions of the Dodge Caravan. The RS Grand Caravan started production in 2000 and it ran up until 2007, while in China they had them from 2007 to 2010. The first generation, known as the S, was made from 1984 to 1990. The second generation, known as the AS, ran from 1991 to 1995. The third generation, known as the NS, ran from 1996 to 2000. And the fifth generation, aka the RT, ran from 2001 to 2020. While the fifth version, aka the RT, ran from 2007 to 2020. When it comes to the engines, they came in both petrol and diesel variants. The petrol engines included a 2.4 inline-4, they had some V6s which included a 3.3, a 3.5, a 3.8, and in China they had a 3 litre, and they also did a diesel in the Philippines which was a 2.8. When it came to the gearboxes, there was a choice of a 4-speed automatic, and the 2.4 litres had the 3-speed auto. Anyway, let's look at the minivan, or MPV, or whatever you want to call it. I believe that the colour on this vehicle is known as steel blue pearl coat. Starting at the front, we have the Dodge logo, which is a ram. It sits proudly on the signature crosshead style grille, which has black honeycomb backgrounds behind it. The headlights are pretty simple on this car, fitted with halogen bulbs. As you can see, this car has colour-coded front bumper fitted with fog lights. The bonnet on this car is quite short, and you may notice that the washer jets are mounted on the black plastic trim. The wipers in this car have the newer beam style wipers. You may notice that the windscreen has a heater element which stops the wipers from sticking when it's icy. This vehicle has a coefficient drag of 0.35, which is the same as an E46 BMW M3. I must say, I do like the way these wheel arches look, they're quite beefy. The 17-inch alloys are aftermarket Shaper single lights, wrapped in 235/55 R17 tyres. The front brakes on this vehicle are vented brakes, and it has an independent spring setup when it comes to the suspension. Moving on to the door mirror, they aren't colour coded here, but they are electronically adjustable. I'm not sure if this air deflector on the front two windows is aftermarket, but it seems to suit the car nicely. The door handles in this car are colour coded and feel surprisingly solid to pull. The front doors have cylinder locks in the handles, should the battery go flat. On the side of the door, we have the word Dodge to remind you that you are entering a Dodge. Going down the side of the vehicle are protection strips. Before I forget, the front wheels and also the back wheels have mud flaps. As you can see, this vehicle has tinted windows, which look pretty cool on this kind of vehicle. This here gives away that this minivan has sliding doors. This car has sliding doors on both sides. On some cars, they're electronic. The fuel cap on this car is on the driver's side, which locks with the central locking. When you open the round door, you are greeted with the cap and 2 warning stickers. The rear arches on this car are just like the front ones, beefy. The rear wheels on this car are the same size as the ones on the front, and this car has rear discs. I have never seen a car with calipers up the top. The rear suspension is dependent. Also, it seems that many of the Dodge Grand Caravans have drums on the rear, so this is quite a cool one. Looking at the top of the car, we have a high-level light up top with a built-in rear washer jet. As you would expect, the rear wiper doesn't clear much of the rear heated window. The Grand Caravan badge sits proudly on the rear hatch, telling those behind that it is the more expensive long wheelbase model. Above the rear plates, we have two number plate bulbs and the boot release. Under the plate, we also have a boot cylinder lock, which is another way to open the boot. Some cars have a power boot, which opens on the key fob. These badges tell you that this car here has the sport trim level, and it is also all-wheel drive, which is why my friend bought this car, to carry building materials to his country house in the heavy winter snow. Here are the very standard looking taillights which match the rest of the model range. The rear bumper is colour coded, and it also has a black surface to protect the rear bumpers from getting scratched while loading, though it seems that the last owner can even reverse the vehicle. The exhaust of this car seems to have a very odd metal thing in the exhaust. I'm guessing it is there to change the sound. Let's talk dimensions. The length of this car is 509 centimeters, which I think is about 29 centimeters longer than the short wheelbase version. The width is 195 centimeters, the height is 175 centimeters, and it has a ground clearance of 14 centimeters. Now, let's have a look inside the car. This is the key with a separate key fob. These three buttons on this fob are unlock, lock, and panic, which sets the alarm off should you be scared. The key on this car though is a normal blade key. Opening the door feels pretty solid, access is easy, and you do get a nice seating position. As you can see, the interior of this car is finished in taupe and the seats are satin leather. There is also some fake wood trim. Looking at the very top of the soft touch dash, we have the air vents and speakers. Just above the instrument cluster, we have a cool information center that displays information and information symbols. Now, let's look at the central stack. In the center are three air vents that feel cheap to touch. There are also colour-coded air vents at each end of the dash. Moving on down, we have a row of buttons. The two blanks in this car are where the heated seat buttons are located normally. Next up is the rear window washer, then the intermittent rear wiper button, along with the rear wiper on and off button. We also have the usual hazard switch. The radio in this car also includes a tape player and CD player. The CD player is up on top with a digital display screen. Also, you can adjust the fade, balance, bass, mid and treble with easy to use buttons and sliders. I really love that you can still use the cassette tapes in this car. This car has manual air conditioning and heater control unit. PWR is the power on and off button. Then you have the rear heated window button. This car also has dual zone temperature control, which allows the passenger and driver to have different temperatures between them. Then to the right of the sliders, you have the air recirculation and aircon buttons. Below all this though, you have three big wheels. The one on the left controls the fan speed for the front users. The one in the centre controls the fan speed for the rear users. And the right wheel is the zone control. Below the heater buttons, you have a small storage space. And under that space, you get two 12-volt power sockets. One has constant power and the other shuts itself off when the car is turned off. There are also two hidden cup holders in here, which is very American for back then. Below that is some storage space, which doesn't seem to store much, even though it's big. And now, let's head over to the instrument cluster while turning on the ignition. The dials in this car are very basic, but easy to read. Though I'm not the biggest fan of white dials, I quite like the orange needles. The fuel gauge is located on the left, and it also tells you which side the fuel flap is on. Here, I am surprised to see a miles per hour speedo, though you can see kilometers per hour in blue. To the right, we have the rev counter along with the gear shifter position display. To the far right, we have the coolant temperature dial. The steering wheel of this vehicle is finished in taupe. This car also has hydraulic power steering, which is still light to use. The airbag on this wheel has the Dodge logo. There are also many buttons on the steering wheel on both sides, which is for the cruise control. Oh, and also the horn is located in the centre of the wheel. To the left of the wheel, you get two stalks, the wiper and light stalk controls, and the steering wheel adjustment stalk, which is the one at the back. To the right of the wheel, you get an American style column gear shifter. I've never ever used one of these before, but you can see what gear you are in on the dash. Saying that though, my dad's old E65 BMW 7 Series had an electronic gear selector in a similar place. Under the left air vent, you will have some controls. On the left are the electronic mirror controls. L and R means left and right. This is the main light control switch, which also turns the fogs on if you pull it out. The scroll wheel on the right hand side is for dimming the dash lights. Heading over to the door, you have the electronic window switches up top. The driver's side is a one-touch type. The bottom two switches, L and R vents, are for controlling the two rear windows at the very back. The power lock button is located on the door, just next to the door release. The door grab is soft to touch, and just here is another air vent which sends air to the rear area. It can be turned on and off here too. The reflector is to warn people that your door is open in the dark. This car also has the 10-speaker Infinity sound system, which my friend likes. The door storage is surprisingly small though. This car doesn't have a normal handbrake. It is foot operated, which you push down with your foot to activate and pull this here to release it. A bit like a big Mercedes or the old BMW E38 7 Series. The bonnet release is also down here. It seems that Dodge are very proud that they have the all-wheel drive system on their car, as it even tells you on the headrest. The seats are very comfortable in this car, especially when you use the armrest. It feels like an armchair. The driver's seat is electronic and has 8 levels of adjustment. Before I head over to the passenger side, let's look up top. The driver's visor has a mirror underneath this flap with a slider which adjusts the brightness of the light. On the back, you can also widen the visor itself by sliding out this black plastic tab. I don't know what the standard rearview mirror is like, but this one here has an aftermarket dash cam over the top of it, which looks pretty cool. The passenger's sun visor gets the same stuff as the driver's side, which is pretty cool. Also up top, you get an electronic compass and an electronic exterior thermometer. The interior lights need to be pushed to turn them on and off. Also up top, there is more storage, which I guess is for sunglasses or CDs. Now, let's pop over to the passenger side. The passenger's door is very plain compared to the driver's side. You can only control your own window. The poor passenger doesn't even get an electronic seat, but they do get a lockable storage compartment under their seat. Whilst that is lockable, the glove box isn't. Inside, it is quite small considering, but it does have a light, and it also tells you the tyre pressure information. Now let's turn our attention to the rear of the vehicle, which has many of the seats missing. Many of the seats are missing is because they have been removed to carry lots of building materials. Now, let's open the sliding door. On some models, they are parasliding. Inside, it is massive, especially as most of the seats are missing. The seat is quite comfortable. There are grab handles on the back of the front seats. You also have grab handles on the B-pillars and a button which helps you open the sliding door. This here is a door stop to stop it sliding back too far. Just here on the driver's side, you get a 12-volt power outlet. What I think is cool about this car though is just up here, you get a climate control for the rear. On the left, you have the fan speed, and to the right, you have the temperature control. Also, there is some lighting. Everybody sitting in the back of the car gets air vents above their head, and I believe that they each get pop-out hooks too to hang your coat up. A quick look at the rear seat allows us to see that the seats can be adjusted and removed. They have headrests and armrests and a sneaky cup holder just down here. Sorry I can't share much detail for the rear of the car for obvious reasons, but it's how it goes sometimes. Now, let's have a quick peek in the back by using the key to pop it open. Once inside, you are greeted with lots of space, and as you can see, it can fit a lot of things inside it, especially with one seat and the rear bench missing. With all the seats in place, you get 580 litres of space, and with all the seats removed, you get 4,680 litres. The rear tailgate in this car has some interior lighting and a closure handle. The rear seatbelts also stay in place when you move the seats. There is more interior lighting up top, with more air vents up top too for the rear row. There are more speakers located for the rear users, big cup holders with rear storage, which should have a cover on both sides. Just in here is the car's jack, complete with instructions on how to change the wheel. Let's have a look under the bonnet, or as the Americans call it, the hood. What makes me smile is everything seems to be labelled and highlighted in yellow, so even my 3-year-old daughter can tell what is what. So, the engine in this vehicle is the 3.8 V6. This engine was the biggest, but it wasn't necessarily the fastest. Later on, they put a 233 horsepower 3.5 V6, which was the one I would choose personally. But that came out later, it's more expensive. But since the normal version is front-wheel drive, the engine is positioned transversely. This 3.8 has 218 horses under the hood and has a max torque reading of 332 Nm at 4,000 revs per minute. This 3,778 cc engine has 2 valves per cylinder. So since this car is a V6, it has 6 cylinders, which means it has 12 valves. 0 to 60 or 0 to 100 km per hour takes 10.8 seconds, and this car is supposedly supposed to do an average of 23 to 24 miles per gallon. The 0 to 62 on the front wheel drive version is quicker at 10.1. Now, let's start this car up so you can hear it purr. I must say it is quite a good sounding car. Please let me know what you think of these in-depth tours. Thank you so much and take care. Goodbye.